Got it. I'm about to add to the legacy. The GW level. I'm signing right here. That's my boy. Feel the future. Support. Feel the future.
That's our first sports image.
I'm trying, will somebody make us shut up about it? Can we settle down?
See that? You zooming on that? That's another shirt we got. That's the next thing I invite me up here. I have something for everybody.
W District Radio, pretty much full cast here. Sonny Sohi, Austin Shindell, Joel Goldberg, Bento Pilness in the back with Taylor Jazuski and Mukwa Sonia. And in the studio we have Arize Ife Jika, the CEO, I'm willing to call you, of More Than Basketball, one of the local youth basketball circuits around in DC. How are you today?
Doing good. How's everybody?
I'm doing better. First thing I wanted to ask you about, it's funny how we actually got to talking. You actually have a GW connection to this place. Why don't you tell us a little about it?
Yeah, well, you know, through the basketball events and stuff we do, not only through like our alumni from our events, but we also know like a lot of coaches who come to like recruit players and things like that as well. You know, our events serve as like that platform to expose like young amateur athletes in the game of basketball. So I know like Mike Lonergan. I actually knew like the old coaches, Carl Hobbs and those guys really well too before they you know, obviously were let go and stuff. But Mike Lonergan, I'll tell you a funny story. At my last event, February 19th, at Tacoma Academy, he came to watch a game because one of his guys, this kid named Paris Margot, who plays for Blue Ridge, who'll be a freshman here next year, was playing, and he came and we were talking. He actually set off the fire alarm. and everyone was like having to leave the gym and come back in because of him. Man. So that's a funny little GW story for y'all. But that's my boy. Mike Lonergan's a good guy. I know him pretty well. I also know Pete Strickland pretty well too. And then like I said, I know Keith and Savage who'll be here next year. Joe McDonald who'll be here next year. Actually, it's funny because you know I don't know if you guys keep it with like styles and stuff like that, but you know how everybody tries to get like the little small little froze and stuff. Joe McDonald had that when I met him like in the 9th grade, so I always called him Ush Bush. Like if you ever see Joe McDonald, get him in here, ask him who calls him Ush Bush. He'll tell you who calls him that. But that's my guy, Lasan Chroma. When we went to school with his older brother, so he's like a little brother to me too. So I know him really well as well. So a whole bunch of guys do that.
Now talk to us a little bit about what the AAU circuit is, because a lot of people are confused whether they think it's just high schools coming out, just playing and seeing what's going on. What's the real significance of the AAU circuit, particularly in the DMV area?
Well, the thing about the AAU circuit, nowadays, the beautiful thing about it is that it gives you that maximum exposure nationwide in an era where a person in Denver, Colorado, or a person in Des Moines, Iowa can know what's going on with a kid in New York City or a kid in the DC area. It provides you that maximum exposure, so you go out to a lot of different exposure events throughout the country. You may not go to a high school who has that same recognition or has the type of budget or the type of precedence or prestige to travel nationally. But on the AAU side, you actually have the opportunity to travel across the country, whether you play for the best team or the worst team. You know, you can actually travel to different events, play in different events, certain events, and be exposed and put on that national platform to where you can have a breakout tournament and now you're a household name in the area. A kid who's a perfect example of that is a kid who'll be playing the Final Four this weekend, Thomas Robinson, who's a DC area resident from Kansas, Big 12 Player of the Year, who was relatively unknown. He started off at Eastern High School, then ended up going to Riverdale Baptist, but through AAU, playing with the Squash All Beast AAU organization, shout out to them, to my man, Dwight Red, who coaches them, real good guy, great guy. But through that exposure, he was able to be put on that national level and earn a scholarship to Kansas, which, you know, has taken him where he is today. So it's good.
Why do you think there's such an exodus out of DC of all the big DC Virginia talent like Durant, Thomas Robinson, people like that?
I think one, because the dynamics of our area is so weird sometimes, because even like with the music scene, fashion, even if you go back to like rap, everything, like Wale probably got more buzz once he left the area than he came here. It's just something about this area is weird. It's kind of like it's like no easy baskets, if I were to relate it to basketball type of thing. It's like everything you do here is like hard earned. So when you do make it, you're gonna feel the love because you made it. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times, a lot of teams, a lot of kids grow up rooting for like Carolinas and stuff like that, and that goes back towards like their favorite players. Because we just got into a digital era where you're able to go look up, like let's say I see somebody on TV today, I can go look up their Twitter, their Facebook, see all about them and get to know them, watch videos on them. You couldn't do that back then. You'd only see the biggest stars that the media would take, put on that pedestal, put on that platform, and sell to you as this is the next big thing. So because of that, schools like Carolina have had the up on us, where nowadays, locally, you can follow a guy from 9th, 10th grade all the way through college, and you know young kids can watch him coming up and want to be like him, by doing their own research, not by relying on the national media and stuff. So that's what I think.
I'll take this one. I'm going to ask you about this. Your group is obviously called More Than Basketball. Why is it more than basketball?
Well, it's a funny story. It's really crazy. When I first started out, well, I'll start with this. My Twitter bio it goes like this. It goes, basketball is my only hustle till I smartened up, opened the market up. That famous Jay-Z line. You know, and then it goes, now my hustle is so Russell. And the reason why I say that is because I started off running all these basketball events, and I never even had aspirations of doing anything outside of basketball. But as I started doing it, I started getting burnt out. I started having all these other like outside interests, and that was influenced by the fact that I was going to like living a normal life. But I was getting all this notoriety from the basketball events, because the thing about basketball is like the most known unknown sport, because at the end of the day, like the average person, you, me, well maybe not us, but the average person on the street could really care less like who the nation's best 10th grader is and stuff like that. Like nobody really cares about that until you find out that person ends up being like LeBron James, or that person ends up being Kobe Bryant. Then it becomes significant. So it's like the most known unknown, because you could have a kid who's 2 years away from being an NBA millionaire, but you treat him like a regular guy because you don't know. It's not that important while he's in high school. So because of that, I started getting all this notoriety from all these people like who were playing in my events, parents who come to watch, the casual basketball fans, and everywhere I was going, I would be seeing these people. I'll see them at the club, I'll see them at the mall, anything. So as it kept going, it kept getting bigger and bigger. People would come to me with all these like outside interests. Like one of my good friends that went to school with me down in Florida. He actually went to Florida State. I went to FAMU, but Darius Barnes, he came to me and we thought of an idea of a fashion line, because he was doing all our like creative design stuff. And he wanted to get into like the fashion stuff, so he brought that to me. And then like movie production was something that we wanted to get into, like doing short films and stuff like that. So and then like the artist manageries, like stuff like that, like all that stuff was stuff that was brought to me. And it was actually someone else who told me, like, you know a lot of people, and you have these events, so you kind of have like a platform to be able to expose all these different things you're doing. So it wouldn't be as much work as if you started from scratch and you're trying to beg somebody else to set up their events, or beg somebody else to let you, use that type of like advantage you have. So that's where it came from. So it went from like having the basketball events went from not only like a revenue stream, but like basically a professional platform to show people like, look, I can do this, so trust me when I say I can do this too. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of how it came together.
You just brought up the point about nobody really notices, or it's an unknown sport on the 10th grade level until you got a guy like LeBron James or Kobe Bryant. And we were just talking about this before you came on the show, about people going straight from high school to college, and now they have to, or straight from high school to the NBA, and now they have to take a stop at college. And I want to get your take on the way that these young men are handling the AAU circuit when they are blowing it up, when they are this huge attraction each time they go somewhere.
A perfect example of that would be, I don't know if you guys know about him, Quinn Cook. You've heard of Quinn Cook? Quinn Cook, talented guard from this area. He graduated from DeMatha High School last year. He just finished his freshman year at Duke. He was a kid that went from like relatively unknown to like larger than life in this area alone, because of the exposure through Twitter, etc. Obviously going to Duke. I mean, he's a kid who like goes to go-go's and everything like a regular kid. And because of that, like I said, in the age we live in, where a kid can literally go to the computer and press Quinn Cook and see all types of videos and interviews and everything, and really get to know the person's story. Because of that, it almost kind of makes these guys like celebrities. Like, like Austin Rivers, these guys have like 90-something thousand followers. You know what I'm saying? Like after a year in college, so it's like these guys are it's like celebrities kind of. But it's kind of cool because of that, these guys are still so humble though. You know what I mean? So I think, to answer your question, they kind of handle it well. I don't know how I'd be able to handle it, because the attention I get, I'm older now, so it's like I can handle it now because I'm older. But at 17, I can't say I wouldn't be smelling myself. So I kind of respect how a lot of these guys handle it. Now, of course, there's some situations where a kid would be a kid, and of course, sometimes they might get caught up in the bright lights. But for the most part, a lot of these young dudes really handle it very well. So,
well, just as a follow-up to that, I just read on your site, one of the best first steps is getting a free education. So what is your stance on the entire issue of going straight to the NBA from high school?
Well, I think you can look at it two ways. I mean, one, you can look at it from the business perspective. As in, like, if I'm an NBA executive and I know my brand is being watered down by a bunch of kids who aren't ready because I drafted them based on potential, or how many GMs, or how many executives have lost jobs by taking a chance on the kid based on potential, that watered down the league. But you could also say, from a player standpoint, that at one point in time there was a draft. where kids are being forced to like, you know, to go to war and things like that, or, you know, like I can live on my, you can live on your own at 18, you can vote at 18. I mean, you can do anything you want as an adult, basically. I mean, you can't rent a car and stuff like that, but I mean, you can basically do whatever you want. You can't drink and stuff, but you can basically do whatever you want, live on your own as an adult. You can bring other children into the world, I mean, and literally be legally responsible for those kids. So with that being said, I'm pretty sure for them, from their standpoint, it seems a little unfair that you're unable to earn a like that, or like, you know, do brain surgery like that requires like that it requires like advanced like intelligence stuff. I mean, you're talking about something you're doing your whole life, so it's not like you have to go take courses on how to be a basketball player. You know?
And also they're taking away from their athletic time. Also,
exactly, that too.
Based, just one quick thing, jumping off that. Based on that, considering you see the business side of it every single day, and you see how many people profit from these incredible basketball players, should they get paid in college?
I think they do get paid in college, like, and I don't want anybody to get confused with what I'm saying. The reason why I say it is because I don't think they understand in this economy how lucky they are to not have bill collectors calling every day for like loan repayal and stuff like that. Like, free education is like a big deal.
Is that a part of what you do? You say that to some of the kids that you come across that are a little upset about either not getting what they feel they owe or don't want to have to go to college?
I mean, it's like this. I put it this way. In our movie, we did a short film called More Than Basketball, the movie, which is like a coming-of-age tale, like 3 high school stars. I know, selfish plug, but 3 high school stars, you know, coming of age, put in different situations. And one of the things we addressed was like, one of the scenarios in our first cuts was like a conversation between a guy and a girl, and the girl was like, yeah, so how many schools have you applied to? He kind of like laughed it off, like, haha, schools have I applied to? Like these guys have no concept of like an application fee or nothing like that. They get there's a lot of advantages to that. You know what I mean? Like free recruiting visits, like a lot of things. Like, you're a student athlete. I mean, not only like the apparel, the notoriety, things like that, but it's like Harrison Barnes said it best. They actually did an article, I think Sports Illustrated, when Harrison Barnes from UNC was talking about branding yourself and how the longer you stay in college, you become more of a brand. The notoriety and attention you get alone from being put on that pedestal can do so much for you in the real world in terms of from a business standpoint, getting a job, your future, pretty much. And then, like, I mean, like I said, referring back to Quinn Cook, like if you're able to earn a degree from Duke University, I mean, it could do a lot for you. So like that stuff is like rewarding in itself if you know how to flip it.
Is 1 year too little then?
I think when you're ready, you're ready. Everyone's different. You know, when you're ready, you're ready. So I mean, I don't know. I think it's like to each its own. Well, I think we'll continue to do what we do now, which is we're like that platform to where coaches, you know, media outlets, you know, such as like Scout.com or Rivals, something like that, and players alike can all come and be exposed and mix and mingle. We provide that platform, so I can see us doing that for the next however so many years. And with that being said, as we continue to like have different teams or upgraded talent, or, you know, continue to have the more annuals, now we're going into our 4th year, so everything's been 3rd annual. So next year everything will be 4th annual. So by the time it gets to like a 10th annual, it will be household names, and because of that, people will know what to expect. So because of that, we'll be able to further expose like all the different like side endeavors we do and stuff like that, and just hopefully it grows and people, you know, receive it well, like what we're trying to do, like our message, and just continue to support at a higher level. You know, and that might, you know, hopefully that'll leverage like local businesses or major businesses to, you know, or major brands to come behind with endorsements, sponsorships and stuff, to kind of get behind what we're doing and kind of give us that machine. Because, you know, everything's on the independent level. You could basically call me like a Gucci man in 2004 or something. If you want to say like independent, we're basically independent, but a major independent, because we do things on a large level, but from our own pockets. You see what I'm saying? So without that machine, you know, without that machine behind you, we're still able to make impact, but we're not as impactful as I think we could be. But we're all still young guys. We got a long way to go. Well, to be honest with you, I don't really get involved in like players like recruiting and stuff like recruitment. I don't really give advice on like who's good and who's not, because I have a good relationship with like a lot of different college coaches, so that'll be like a conflict of interest. But I will say this. I will say the one thing I learned, and I learned this from my boy Steven Burnett. Follow him on Twitter at YoungFlyExec, by the way, another shameless plug. But the thing I learned from him that he taught me is that about basketball is that he taught me the difference between basketball and sports period and like music is that sports is the truth. Like stats are undeniable. You see what I'm saying? So because with that being said, if they do what they got to do and take care of their business on the court, everything usually kind of works itself out. You can kind of see what's going on. Like you kind of see like what role you can play, you know, in terms of like with the school. Like a lot of these kids do their own homework. Like, you know, for example, a kid might be a senior in high school right now and know, all right, I'm a senior. If I step on the college campus next year, I probably want to come off the bench 1 year and have a chance to start as a sophomore. So I'm going to look at schools that only have senior starting point guard. You see what I'm saying? Like, they can do the homework for themselves. These kids are so much smarter, and they know what's going on. So it's kind of like, I don't really have to do too much, because these kids are, like, really, really, really smart. And, like, by the time they get to 17 years old, I mean, you got to think about it, these kids start doing this AAU stuff at a high level, like, 8 years old. I mean, I know, like, in Vegas, they have, like, an 8-number division in Vegas. So you have, like, 8-year-old kids in Vegas, like, playing basketball by day, and, like, parents trying to keep them in the room to stay away from, like, everything else that's Vegas by night. So, like, these guys get put in this stuff, like, throwing the fire early. So by the time they get to, like, 17 years old, they're almost kind of, like, ahead of their time. So they kind of do their homework on their own, so it's, like, it's kind of, like, accustomed to it. You know what I mean? So it's not as difficult as you think.
I don't know what kind of, as far as your capacity in this, but are you good at identifying who the sharks are at these events? And if you see someone that you know might get someone in trouble, what do you do to remove them from the situation?
Can I identify the shark? By now, yeah. It would be a problem if I wouldn't be able to. I think there'd be something wrong with that if I couldn't. Now, what I do at that point is these kids have parents. It's almost kind of like, what do you do if like your kid turns on the TV and sees tip drill? I mean, it's like, I mean, like at the end of the day, like yeah, parents. So it's like if the parents can't play that role, the guardians or handlers or whatever you want to call it, then I mean, what is their role really? You know, I don't think my role is in that capacity. You know, the four things I told people I never do for kids: I never train, I never coach, I never rank, and I never advise. That's the four things I never do, because that's not my really purpose. I'm just a platform. So I'm saying I'm just an unbiased, impartial platform that just allows everybody to come together and make things happen. So
I got a question to ask you. When you were starting up, I would imagine you were probably. Are there any like funny stories about parents? Because I can imagine, I've seen high school basketball games where parents go after refs, and these tournaments, you know, that they're paying for it. Any funny stories?
Yes, there is a funny story. You know, the funny thing about my job is that in my position is that because you're at the top of the food chain, everything is your fault. So like let's say everything's your fault. So when I'm at a basketball game and a ref makes a bad call, it's Arize. Where you get these refs from? And everything like. Every call, like, Arize, you gonna let them call that? I said, you want me to go in the middle of the game and change the rest call? Or anytime a team is late for an AAU tournament, Arize, where your team's at? Like, do you want me to go to their home and pick them up? Like, I can't control that. Like, what are you expecting of me?
Couple parting shots before you go. Who's gonna be the number one pick in the draft?
Number one pick in the draft? I mean, me personally, I'm a GM. I'm gonna take Anthony Davis. I mean, the potential, and I just talked about potential earlier, but he's actually been proven on the college level. So I think his potential he's going to be solid from day one, but his potential to be for star power is out of the roof. So I think he's number one for sure.
And finally, who's going to win the tournament this year?
I did pick Kentucky in my bracket, but I got so much love for my boy T-Rob. My dark horse is Kansas, but I did pick Kentucky in my bracket only because on paper there's so much outstanding, and the guy you may consider like their fifth starter. Which is Deron Lamb, who I actually had a chance to watch it as an 8th grader and stuff too. It's probably like the most solid player they have. You think most solid, consistent. So if that's your fifth starter, your fifth best player, you know, you're in pretty good shape. So,
Arize, thanks for coming out. And let them know what website can they go to check out your stuff?
www.morethanbasketballmg.net. You can also follow me on Twitter at Arize TOB. I didn't even mention that, but I also manage a go-go band too, TOB. But Arize TOB, which is ARIZE. Also, More Than Basketball, the movie. Check that out. You heard my shameless plug earlier. It's really a good project. We actually got nominated for a couple independent film awards and stuff. So, really proud of that. I actually wrote that, directed it, and acted in it. So, it's another one of my many talents to act.
Triple threat.
Or acting like I can act. Either one.
Thank you to Arize and the management group for More Than Basketball. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to finish our tournament talk. You listen to Box Out here on WRGW District Radio. Stay tuned.
Oh, my God. Yeah, man. I got see. You didn't tell me about the shirt, so I could have brought something for everybody when I asked you, man. But hey, this is my independent photo line. See,
I think you earned it.
Let me see if that's
You earned it.
On that.
You made the call.
Let me see that.
It's strict radio.
See that? People at home say, that's all you.
At gwradio.com.
I sincerely would thank you, man.
No question. Anytime, man.